Now, the biggest economy in Central Africa, that's the DR Congo, today presented a roadshow to investors, both local and foreign. DR Congo is looking to attract investors into its agriculture sector, infrastructure, and the vast mineral resource, which includes oil and gas. Let's take a listen to the roadshow.
The DRC, some facts about the DRC, is the second largest country in Africa, 2.345 million square kilometers. For you to remember that trivia, you just need to know how to count. 2.345 million square kilometers. And it is the 11th largest country in the world. It actually borders 9 African countries. So in terms of African trade, it actually is at the heart of Africa, connecting to 9 other countries and a member of the East African community. It is remarkably endowed. Natural resources, vast potential. It has every mineral you can talk about, all the transition minerals, cobalt, copper, zinc, manganese, diamonds, gold, tin, tantalum, lithium, and others. And the potential is vast. The DRC is slightly larger than the whole of Western Europe in terms of landmass. It is only smaller, slightly smaller. Who's the largest country in Africa? It is Algeria. It is just slightly smaller than Algeria, but you know that Algeria is largely desert. So technically, in terms of occupied land, the DRC is Africa's largest country. Arable land in the DRC, 80 million hectares, of which 4 million are under irrigation. Largely in the south, and I think in this trip we will have an opportunity to have a look at some of those large farms. It is one of the most fertile countries on earth. One WFP report states it has the potential to feed 2 billion people through sustainable investments. Equity Group's ARRP, which Brent will speak about later, talks about our Pillar 1A, which is agriculture. So we are looking for agricultural investments as a group. It is a high priority. But you can see the DRC has the potential, really huge potential. 2 billion means it can feed Africa 2 times over. The River Congo in the DRC, the deepest river in the world, has close to half of Africa's hydroelectric potential. Many of you have heard about the Inga Rapids, which have so much hydroelectric potential they could light up the whole of sub-Saharan Africa. A population of over 105 million, largely young, yes, it is true, and it has got challenges, but it also shows the potential of the market, even as it connects to the larger East African and sub-Saharan Africa. As a group, we are well positioned across this vast land. Our business is very well structured. We have a very, very unique franchise as Equity Group in the DRC because the banks which form the Equity BCDC have had 2 unique franchises. We have the BCDC, which started in 1909, which is a strength and the bedrock of our corporate bank and large enterprises, the mining and all those. And then we have the ProCredit arm, which was a specialist and SME expert organization. So we bring to you expertise as an organization that talks to both the corporates and also the SME, as well as a unique retail franchise. Over 75 branches. And then we add in all, the DRC is a vast country, so the way we manage ourselves in the DRC is by recognizing the various regions in this DRC. We have the western region, which is where Kinshasa is nested, and that's where we will be going when we fly out of here. We have the southern region, which has got all this copper belt. We've got the central region where Mbujimai is, and then we have the eastern region where Goma is. So even our own business is organized accordingly to recognize the vast land and to have the various areas fully recognized with the regional managing directors and regional directors managing the various components of the bank.
Conceptually, this region is very well integrated as an economy. All these countries, about 10 countries in the region, 7 of them are already in the East African community, which is the trading bloc in the region and the common market. So all these countries are already in the East African community region. So if you are operating in any of those countries, your products can access that entire market without paying duty within that particular block. And that is for Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, or Burundi, Rwanda, DRC, South Sudan, and now Somalia has also joined the bloc. Ethiopia is a major economy in the region. It's the largest economy in the region, but it's not yet part of the EAC. I think discussions are underway for it to also join the community. So when Ethiopia will join the community, then this will be the biggest regional bloc in Africa. So if you look at it now, ECOWAS is still the largest regional bloc. So if you just want to look at the countries themselves, the conceptual East and Central Africa, you can see the economies, the totality of the GDPs of all these countries is about 500 and something billion dollars. This is the GDP of all these countries, with Ethiopia having the largest at around 150 something billion dollar economy. So this is really small if you compare with other parts of the world. If you compare with the Southeast Asia major economies in different parts of the developing world, it's a relatively smaller GDP, and this speaks to the potential of growth, especially if you are considering also that the population is half a billion of people live in this region, just this part of the world, and it has some of the hugest potential for mineral resources, for agricultural potential. It has the demographic dividends, the young, well-educated people across all the countries, not just in Kenya. There are many young, well-educated, English-speaking, French-speaking people, or well-skilled generally compared to other parts of the continent. So this really shows you what we really play with. So this will be the map of the integrated East African community after Somalia joins. So we expect this to be one of the biggest players in Africa.
The first statistic that I'll give is 3%. 3% is Africa's market share of world GDP. The next statistic is 8%, and 8% is Africa's share of food, net of any exports. The third statistic that I'll give you is 17%. This is Africa's market share of world population. And the final statistic is 25%, and that's Africa's population by 2050. I don't know if the presentation is going to go up. So if you go to the next slide, this is ultimately Africa's problem statement, and if you look at the glass half full, this is the opportunity statement that Equity Group is seeing for itself. What we are doing as Equity Group, and it's one of the reasons we do these trade missions, is that we want to close the 3% and the 17%. The 17% will be 25% by 2050. You'll also notice that on the bottom left gives you a sense of where the youth is. The darker red implies Africa will be the world's future labor market. By 2050, it will have a third of the world's labor market. At the same time, because it's 25% of the world's population by 2050, it will be the final frontier for any FMCG company looking for a mass market as well. This picture shows you, if you look at the IMF forecasts for the next 5 years, 2024 to 2028, this map shows you those markets with an average GDP above 5%. You will notice that East Africa, East and Central Africa, has the highest concentration of high growth markets in the world. So these are averages using the IMF forecasts between 2024 and 2028. Equity Group operates in all of those markets in East and Central Africa, with the exception of Mozambique, Burundi. We have a rep office in Ethiopia. What you'll also note is that East Africa has, or East and Central Africa has, at least 5 of the 10 fastest growing markets in the world.